Welcome to Psych Vids. In this video, we will break down the Dunning-Kruger effect. It's that fascinating and, let's be honest, kind of scary idea that explains why sometimes the people who know the absolute least are the most confident they know it all.
So, to really get this, we have to start with a story that honestly sounds like it's made up. Picture this. It's 1995, and a guy named MacArthur Wheeler decides he's going to rob two banks. And he does it in the middle of the day, with zero attempt to hide his face. In fact, he's smiling right at the security cameras.
So what was his genius plan? His super-secret weapon for becoming invisible? Lemon juice. Yeah, he'd heard that you can use lemon juice as invisible ink, and somehow his brain made the leap to, if I put it all over my face, I'll be totally invisible to cameras. Makes sense, right?
Well, you could probably guess what happened next. The police picked him up that very same day. But the truly wild part is when they showed him the security tapes. He was in complete and utter disbelief. He famously muttered, "But I wore the juice." He wasn't trying to be funny. He was just so bad at being a criminal, he literally couldn't comprehend how bad he was.
This whole bizarre incident got a couple of psychologists thinking. How on earth can someone be so wrong about something, yet feel so absolutely sure that they're right? And that one question, well, it led them to uncover a fundamental glitch in the way all of our minds work.
So yeah, that one guy's very strange, citrus-scented mistake became the catalyst for one of the most famous ideas in all of modern psychology.
And that idea is called the Dunning-Kruger effect. It was first described back in 1999 by two Cornell psychologists, David Dunning and Justin Kruger. And what it is a cognitive bias where people who have very low skill in a particular area have this massively inflated idea of how good they are at it.
In their original study, Dunning and Kruger gave students tests on things like logic and grammar. And check this out. The students who did the worst, the ones who scored way down in the 12th percentile, they thought they had crushed it. On average, they estimated their own performance to be up around the 62nd percentile. I mean, that is a huge disconnect from reality.
And here's the core of it, what David Dunning calls a dual burden. The very skills you're missing are the exact same skills you need to even notice that you're missing them. Right? To know your grammar is bad, you have to actually know what good grammar is in the first place. If you don't, your mistakes are completely invisible to you. This is a breakdown in something called metacognition, which is just a fancy way of saying thinking about your own thinking. It's like your brain's own little quality control manager is asleep on the job.
Okay, so there's this fantastic visual metaphor that perfectly captures how our confidence shifts as we're learning something new. It's a journey that, trust me, pretty much all of us have been on.
This chart basically maps out our learning process. We all start out here, at what's often jokingly called the peak of Mount Stupid. You learn just a tiny bit and bam, your confidence goes through the roof. But then, as you learn more, you fall into the valley of despair. That's the moment you realize just how much you don't know. It's humbling. But if you keep going, you start to climb the slope of enlightenment, where your actual skill and a more realistic sense of confidence start to grow together, until you finally reach the plateau of sustainability. That's real expertise, and it usually comes with a healthy dose of humility.
And once you know about this, you see it everywhere. It's why something like 80% of people think they're an above-average driver, which is just not possible mathematically. It's that person on a singing competition show who is genuinely shocked when the judges say they can't sing. And of course, it's the heart and soul of the social media armchair expert.
But wait, the story's not over. Because it turns out it's not just beginners who have a problem with self-assessment. Experts often have the exact opposite issue. So on the flip side, you have the experts. Their metacognition is sharp, so they are painfully aware of how much more there is to learn in their field. They also tend to assume that tasks that are easy for them must be easy for everyone, and this can actually lead them to underestimate their own abilities. We sometimes call this imposter syndrome.
So, this begs a really important question. If every single one of us is vulnerable to this effect in any area where we lack expertise, how do we fight it? How can we get better at knowing what we don't know?
Well, the good news is you can. First, you have to go looking for honest feedback, especially from people who aren't afraid to tell you you're wrong. Second, just never stop learning. The more you know, the more you'll realize how much you don't. Third, make a habit of challenging your own beliefs. Just ask yourself, okay, but what if I'm totally wrong about this? And finally, get comfortable saying, I don't know. It's not a weakness, it's a sign of real wisdom.
At the end of the day, understanding this bias isn't about pointing fingers and laughing at other people.
It's about having the intellectual humility to look at ourselves. So I'll leave you with a question to chew on. What's one thing you feel absolutely 100% confident about that you might just be wrong about?
Subscribe so you don't miss an episode.